Explosive accusations are rocking the political scene. A prominent figure has launched a scathing critique against a political leader, portraying him as a national disaster and a disgrace to the country. According to the source, this individual is characterized as ignorant, dishonest, incompetent, and neglectful of his duties. He is accused of deceiving the public, evading taxes, and general idiocy. It is claimed that his behavior and actions have led the country into a terrible situation, and he has proven to be worse than anyone could have imagined after his election. Actor Robert De Niro, never shy about expressing his opinion, openly criticizes Donald Trump in various formats, from interviews to public appearances. His disdain for the political figure is evident, which resonates widely in society. De Niro's criticism is not limited to superficial remarks. He delves into an analysis of Trump's personality and assesses the potential danger of his management methods. It is rare to encounter such a candid political stance from an actor of this magnitude, but De Niro believes it is necessary to speak out when he feels that what is happening goes against his beliefs. In his reasoning, De Niro questions the public's perception of Trump. He expresses bewilderment at how a significant portion of the population believes that Trump cares about their interests. This incomprehension, according to De Niro, has haunted him for decades, causing deep confusion. Observers note that harsh expressions are used in assessing Trump's psychological state: malignant narcissist, sociopath. This language, according to some, evokes anxiety and fear, emphasizing the alleged danger emanating from this personality. It is argued that Trump pursues personal goals rather than the interests of the American people. De Niro, in particular, characterizes him as a narcissist whose actions are motivated by selfishness rather than empathy for others. This is a harsh assessment, reflecting the belief that Trump puts his interests above the interests of the country. Such views go beyond ordinary political criticism. It is believed that Trump's election was a serious mistake that jeopardized democratic principles. His methods are compared to those of a gangster, implying that the leader operates outside the law. The desire to maintain control in the current situation is becoming increasingly tense. There is a well-founded fear that, if he wins again, and this does not seem far-fetched, the incumbent leader may refuse to hand over power. Such a statement has already been made, and it would be reckless to ignore it. Parallels are drawn between the Trump family and a gangster family, reflecting the perception of management methods as gangster-like. However, even in the criminal world, there are notions of honor and obligation. Breaking promises and treating people unfairly lead to isolation, especially in difficult situations. This image is alarming, reminiscent of warnings from the past. It is important to note that this is not just a personal opinion, but a result of observing certain trends and actions. Robert De Niro's words addressed to the growing problem in the country have sparked widespread public discussion, debate, and, of course, a lot of criticism, but this has not stopped his desire. He has set himself an important task: to draw public attention to what he perceives as a dangerous course, urging U.S. citizens to more carefully analyze the decisions made at the highest level of government. Robert De Niro does not limit himself to criticizing Donald Trump's political decisions but focuses on analyzing Trump's personality. According to De Niro, Trump is not simply flawed but a narcissist. De Niro believes that all of Trump's actions are dictated by one thing: his own ego. De Niro argues that Trump's need for constant attention and praise determines his every decision, leaving no room for the needs of ordinary Americans. This is not just an accusation, but a deep concern that a leader driven by selfishness is unable to sincerely serve the people. De Niro also notes that many people risked their reputations and careers to support Trump. He asks who exactly lied under oath, pointing to the seriousness of the consequences that resulted from the actions and decisions made during Trump's reign. The statement expresses outrage at the actions of two people who are called traitors. It is emphasized that these individuals gave false testimony under oath. The author has difficulty communicating with those who do not share his opinion about these people. It is noted that the traitors had the opportunity to act differently but chose to fight not for the author, but for others. In contrast, two people, former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn and former Metropolitan Police Officer Michael Fanone, are presented as heroes. The author expresses honor to be near them. Furthermore, the statement mentions the use of the word narcissist by De Niro to emphasize Trump's egocentricity, who, according to De Niro, places personal interests above national ones. Such behavior causes De Niro more than just disappointment. The emergence of figures like Trump raises concerns about the possible consequences for society. There is a belief that as a result of their actions, the interests of ordinary people may be sidelined. Doubts are expressed about the sincerity of Trump's statements about caring for the American people. It is emphasized that his policies may not be directed towards the common good but towards strengthening the loyalty and support of a narrow circle of individuals connected to his business or political interests. As an example, tax breaks and deregulation are cited, which, despite claims of helping the population, mainly benefit large corporations and wealthy citizens. The key point is the question of authenticity. It is argued that Trump's rhetoric is aimed at manipulating emotions rather than making real decisions. This criticism touches on the very essence of his communication with voters. There is a sense that this connection is not genuine, and there is disappointment that many people, in the opinion of critics, do not see this. Many share the view that democratic principles, despite their importance, are often taken for granted. This is a concept whose essence is not always fully understood, especially when it comes to distinguishing right from wrong. There are individuals whose actions raise serious concerns. Their behavior may seem aimed at provoking a reaction, perhaps even at committing acts that cause horror. Such actions generate fear and anxiety. Some, like De Niro, do not mince words, characterizing such people as gangsters. In their opinion, certain individuals seeking to retain power resort to tactics reminiscent of the actions of criminals who disregard the law. In particular, the methods of one well-known politician are compared to bullying, manipulation, and the encouragement of loyalty at any cost. This is a harsh assessment, but according to De Niro, it reflects the essence of what is happening. He believes that such an approach is not leadership but a striving for control, which is unacceptable for someone who values justice and democracy. Robert De Niro expressed deep concern regarding the fundamental principles of American democracy, namely the peaceful transfer of power. He questioned whether Donald Trump would ever voluntarily relinquish office if it meant losing control. For De Niro, this is not just a minor issue but a direct threat to the system that ensures stability and fairness in governing the country. The peaceful transition of power is not only a historically established tradition but also a guarantee of the viability of democratic institutions. De Niro openly expressed fears that Trump's unwillingness to concede defeat could undermine the foundations of the system, turning what Americans take for granted into a source of chaos and discord. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former Republican governor of California, has actively spoken out in support of Harris, emphasizing the need to close the door on this chapter of American history. He expressed confidence that former President Trump would not be able to do so, predicting that he would continue to sow division, insult, and find new ways to be even more anti-American. De Niro's concerns about the prospect of a possible return of Trump to politics are rooted in the belief that it could only bring increased public discontent. He does not consider his anxieties unfounded but supports them with an analysis of Trump's rhetoric and actions during his presidency. In particular, De Niro draws attention to Trump's statements questioning the legitimacy of the elections and spreading doubts about their results. According to De Niro, these are not just words but a carefully thought-out strategy for retaining power. He does not limit himself to discussing Trump's possible refusal to concede defeat, but draws parallels between his actions and the methods of historical authoritarian leaders. This comparison is certainly bold, but De Niro sees in Trump's actions a pattern characteristic of authoritarian regimes: consolidation of power, undermining of institutions, and suppression of dissent. He notes that many authoritarian leaders begin by undermining confidence in democratic processes and presenting themselves as indispensable to the country's prosperity. De Niro considers such behavior not just a worrying signal but a serious warning about the possible consequences if ignored. According to Dow, leaders who put personal ambitions above democratic values often lead their countries to disunity and decline. In this, he sees a real threat emanating from Trump's approach. Dow's core thesis is simple: democracy is effective only when established rules are followed. He has repeatedly emphasized that it is crucial for leaders to respect institutions that limit power, from fair elections to independent courts. For Dow, this isn't just a political stance, but a matter of preserving the foundations that guarantee Americans their freedoms. Dow has openly criticized the current president since he took office. In particular, he has spoken about the possibility of impeachment and the hearings on this matter. Dow noted that he followed some of them and believes that, despite the low probability of conviction in the Senate, it is necessary to go through this process to the end. What happened will leave an indelible mark on the history of his presidency, becoming not just a blemish, but a deep shame deservedly received. Undoubtedly, society will go through this trial and use all available opportunities. It is important not to miss a single chance, despite attempts to manipulate the situation. He seemed to anticipate events, winning in a gangster style like the Teflon Don conquering the world, but now he will have to bear the deserved punishment and face the consequences of his actions. Perhaps Dao's words sound more like a call than direct criticism, but he seeks to draw public attention, emphasizing the importance of what is happening. Violating established norms affects not only Trump's personality but also raises the question of ensuring that no one, even with enormous power, can rise above the law. Robert De Niro openly expresses his disappointment with Donald Trump's impulsive decisions. For De Niro, the problem lies not only in Trump's actions but also in the methods he uses. Analysts note a trend in Donald Trump's actions, expressing a disregard for the advice of experts and consultants when making decisions. According to De Niro, governing a state, especially one as significant as the United States, requires a thoughtful approach and consideration of various points of view. However, according to the experts' observations, Trump's leadership style leans towards prioritizing operational measures over comprehensive analysis, which is manifested in sharp changes in both foreign policy, including withdrawal from international treaties, and domestic policy when key decisions are revised in the shortest possible time. De Niro expresses concern that such a practice may be reckless. The expert emphasizes that such an approach to management based on unilateral decision-making limits opportunities for cooperation, which often leads to alienation of allies and increased disagreements within the country. According to De Niro, this style of leadership carries not only shortcomings but also potential risks for the stability and international authority of the state. De Niro's criticism also concerns Trump's desire to centralize power. He expresses concern that such a leadership style may blur the lines between executive power and personal control, which, in turn, may weaken the system of checks and balances that traditionally ensure the balance of power in a democratic society. Relying on the system of checks and balances and surrounding himself with supporters, De Niro expresses concern that Trump may transform the presidential post into something more authoritarian. According to De Niro, a disturbing situation has developed, reminiscent of past conversations where he noted the discrepancy between events and their perception. Emphasizing the importance of truth, De Niro criticizes the denial of reality, noting the insane nature of speeches and expressing deep concern about the current state of affairs. De Niro considers it his duty to express his position and record what is happening. His greatest concern is the ripple effect this may have on global politics. The United States, traditionally seen as a champion of democratic values, risks losing its moral authority if its leader shows signs of consolidating power. Criticism of democratic institutions, according to De Niro, is not limited to damaging America's image on the world stage. This creates a dangerous example for other political leaders who may see this as justification for their own actions. De Niro's concern regarding Trump's period of rule goes beyond the domestic political situation in the United States. Unpredictability in the president's actions becomes a factor of instability both within the country and in the international arena. It is noted that decisions made spontaneously, such as trade conflicts, unexpected military maneuvers, or withdrawal from international agreements, can cause a chain of negative consequences. These actions affect not only the economy and security of the United States, but also destabilize the position of allied states. It is outrageous that the country has reached such a state when such an outrageous personality occupies such a high position. Such behavior and rhetoric, including threats of physical violence, call into question the suitability for the position held. Concern is expressed regarding the future direction of the country and potential negative consequences. Robert De Niro voices concerns about the possible course of development of the country under the leadership of Donald Trump, noting his unpredictability as a factor undermining confidence in the United States from other states. The actor expresses concern that Trump's management style, characterized by chaos and egocentrism, is capable of destabilizing international relations and weakening long-term alliances. De Niro emphasizes that it is not just about ineffective management, but about actions the consequences of which may be much more serious than they seem at first.